Have you ever found yourself wondering if there's maybe a different path to financial freedom? A way to build real wealth and, crucially, build it in time to actually enjoy it, not just way off in your so-called golden years when you might be, well, maybe a little less golden.
That's a big question, isn't it? It really challenges the core of what most of us have been taught about money and success.
Yeah, it really does.
The conventional wisdom, it often feels like this incredibly long, slow march, like a treadmill that promises a reward, but it's way, way in the distant future.
Right.
And I think many of us instinctively feel there has to be a more direct, maybe a more vibrant path than just, waiting for decades. And that feeling, it's not wrong.
Exactly. And that's precisely our mission today on The Deep Dive. We're going deep, really deep, into MJ DeMarco's incredibly provocative book, The Millionaire Fastlane.
It definitely stirs things up.
Oh, absolutely. Our mission for you today is kind of threefold. First, we want to truly unpack its core lessons, really understand this refreshingly rebellious take on growing wealth.
Yeah. Second, make these powerful, sometimes kind of complex ideas easy and entertaining for you to grasp.
Yeah, break it down.
And third, and this is really the most important part, explore how you can actively apply these fast lane ideas in your daily life, like right now, starting today, no matter where you are financially.
And we're pulling directly from a book that, look, it doesn't just offer new strategies. It fundamentally challenges the conventional financial wisdom that's so ingrained in our society.
Yeah, the stuff we hear everywhere.
DeMarco argues pretty powerfully, I think, that the common paths often lead to what he starkly calls wealth in a wheelchair.
Oof, that's a visual.
It is. And what's fascinating here is that this isn't just theory for him. The whole book, this fast lane ignition of consciousness, as he puts it, it apparently came from a single chance encounter with a young guy driving a Lamborghini Countach.
Wow, really? Just one encounter?
Apparently so.
Yeah.
And it sparked this huge realization for DeMarco. You can get rich without being famous or having some exceptional physical talent, without winning the genetic lottery. And that idea, for many people, that's utterly revolutionary. It shatters these limiting beliefs we've absorbed about who gets to be wealthy and how.
Totally.
So this entire deep dive is really dedicated to uncovering that truth and showing you how its principles might apply to your own life, offering you maybe a shortcut. Not to easy money, but, to freedom in time to actually live it.
That's the key, isn't it? Living it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's kick things off by really unpacking what DeMarco calls the Great Deception. This is that pervasive, seemingly harmless, get rich slow advice that's been drilled into us probably since we were kids.
Oh, yeah. The standard playbook.
You know the drill, right?
Yeah.
Go to school, get good grades, land a stable job. Then what?
Max out your 401k.
Clip coupons meticulously.
Save every penny.
Dutifully invest in the stock market.
And someday, decades from now.
Exactly. Someday you'll be rich. It sounds so responsible, so safe. But DeMarco argues it's basically an elaborate illusion.
And to highlight just how absurd this path can be, he uses this brilliant hypothetical example. He calls it the Big Daddy Who illusion.
Big Daddy Who, okay.
Yeah. So imagine a 22-year-old rapper, right? Dripping in designer gear, supercars everywhere, multiple mansions.
Got it. Living large.
Totally. And when someone asks how he got this insane fortune so quickly, he just casually says, just chilling in mutual funds and religiously contributing to my 401k from my part-time job at the cell phone store.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
Exactly. DeMarco says this scenario is preposterous and laughable. And it is, instinctively.
Yeah.
We all know deep down that young, wealthy people don't usually get rich that way unless, they're pro athletes, huge musicians, movie stars.
Right. The tiny percentage of famous people.
That tiny, highly visible group. For the rest of us, we're left with this traditional slow burn advice. But let's be honest, doesn't that advice feel completely disconnected from how real, rapid, substantial wealth actually gets built today?
It really does. It feels like being told to walk from New York to LA when planes exist.
That's a great analogy. And this disconnect leads straight to the grim reality DeMarco calls wealth in a wheelchair.
There it is again.
He challenges that traditional retirement vision, the one that looks idyllic in the brochures.
Sunsets and golf courses.
Right. But the reality check can be stark. He paints this visceral picture. Maybe you finally get financial freedom, but you're a crotchety old man on a porch in a creaky rocking chair, surrounded by pharmacies, doctors' offices, walkers, and, well, you get the idea.
Yeah, unsightly urinary undergarments is blunt.
It's uncomfortably vivid, right? But it forces you to confront the real cost of waiting, the potential that your health, your vitality might be diminished by the time the money finally shows up.
And it's not just about physical decline, is it? It's about the erosion of your best years.
Exactly. The Slowlane's fundamental flaw, as DeMarco argues so powerfully, is sacrificing your today, your dreams, and your life for a plan that pays dividends after most of your life has evaporated.
Wow. That's heavy.
It is. So, think about it for a moment, you listening right now. Are your most cherished dreams, your big aspirations, are they currently on life support? Are you, maybe without realizing it, trading your most energetic, creative, adventurous years for this faint, uncertain promise of freedom way down the line? Freedom you might not even be able to fully enjoy.
It's a really profound question. Requires some honest reflection.
Definitely. And this raises another important point about what DeMarco calls the criminal trade, inherent in most jobs within that Slowlane framework.
The criminal trade, what's that?
Basically, you're trading 5 precious days of your life for just 2 days of freedom.
5 for 2, the work week.
Yeah, it's a fixed 5-for-2 ratio. And within a typical job structure, you just can't manipulate it. You can't suddenly decide to work 2 days and take 5 off just because you got really efficient.
No, your boss wouldn't like that much.
Right. Your time is this fixed commodity, bought and sold at a set rate. And that, he argues, is the essence of this criminal trade.
And that's exactly why the get-rich-slow path is so fundamentally problematic, isn't it? He says it's codependent on Wall Street and anchored by your time.
Making its success nefariously dependent on too many factors you cannot control.
Like what? The stock market has to perform perfectly for 40 years.
You hope you stay employed without any interruptions.
Hope you stay healthy enough to keep working and investing for decades.
Hope inflation doesn't just eat away at your savings.
That is an awful lot of hoping, isn't it?
It really is. And not nearly enough control over your own financial destiny. It's like planning a transatlantic flight, but just trusting the winds will be favorable and hoping the plane doesn't run out of fuel halfway there.
Not a great strategy.
Not at all. This brings us to what DeMarco calls the Slowlane's mathematical prison. Uncontrollable limited leverage, or ULL.
ULL.
Okay. If you look at the Slowlane wealth equation, it seems simple. Your job's value, hourly rate, X hours worked, or just your annual salary.
Seems logical.
But the problem is in those fixed, unscalable variables.
And here's where it gets really eye-opening for a lot of people. That time attachment. DeMarco calls it the first punitive element of wealth creation in the Slowlane.
Punitive, yeah.
You just can't control or leverage time in a meaningful way. There are only 24 hours in a day, right? That severely limits hourly work earnings.
And the average lifespan, maybe 74 years, puts this strict, immovable ceiling on your potential earnings from a salary over a career.
You can't magically work 400 hours a day or live productively to 400 years old.
Exactly. These are mathematically small, fixed numbers. And small numbers, he emphasizes, just do not create millionaires quickly or reliably. It's simple math.
And this mathematical futility, this ULL, it extends critically to compound interest, which is always hyped as the Slowlane's big wealth accelerator.
The magic of compounding.
Right. But while it sounds amazing on paper, like $10,000 could theoretically become $2.5 million in 40 years at 15% annual return, DeMarco points out some major flaws.
Okay, what are they?
Well, first, getting a consistent 15% return year after year, especially over 4 decades. That's incredibly rare, almost impossible for the average person without taking massive risks or stumbling into something unsustainable.
Yeah, 15% year on year for 40 years is ambitious, to say the least. It's not a realistic assumption for long-term market performance.
And even if somehow you did achieve that, think about the timeline. 40 years, you'd be significantly older, probably well into your 70s or 80s.
He gives that stark historical example, right? Investing $1,000 in the S&P 500 in 1940 yields $1.3 million by 2011. Sounds great. But by 2011, you'd be 91 years old.
91.
Yeah. So DeMarco's blunt question, and he asks this directly to you, the listener, is, seriously, how does anyone get excited over this crap?
It's powerful, almost sarcastic, but it makes you confront the reality. So if your current financial path feels stuck in this mathematical prison where time isn't your friend but feels more like a warden or a liability, it's definitely time to rethink what freedom looks like and how you might actually get there sooner.
Absolutely. Which leads us to another major critique of the Slowlane. the pay yourself last paradox that happens in most traditional jobs.
Wait, isn't the mantra pay yourself first?
That's what the Slowlane doctrine preaches, yes. But DeMarco argues that in a typical job context, it's almost impossible to truly do that.
How so?
Well, think about heavy taxation on earned income. Plus, the severely limited contribution amounts allowed for typical 401ks and IRAs means a huge chunk of your income gets siphoned off by others, the government, maybe even your employer's structure, before you ever get to allocate it for your own wealth building.
Right, so if you're working hard, climbing the ladder, maybe 30%, 40%, even 50% of your money just vanishes before it hits your account, swallowed by taxes, deductions.
Exactly. As DeMarco puts it bluntly, if you are paying yourself last and everyone gets your money first, don't expect to build wealth fast.
So the system itself is kind of designed to take its cut before you see the full reward.
He certainly argues it feels that way, that you're playing a game where the cards are stacked against rapid wealth accumulation from the start.
Okay, and then there's what he calls the paradox of practice regarding financial gurus.
Ah, yes, this is a fascinating one. He exposes what he sees as a deep hypocrisy.
Which is?
That many of these well-known money experts, these coaches, they teach one wealth equation to the masses.
The Slowlane way, usually.
Often, yes. But behind the scenes, they are getting rich using a completely different strategy. They're often wealthy from selling the advice, not from meticulously following the exact slow burn advice they give out.
Okay, this is where it gets interesting. Maybe a bit uncomfortable. He names names, right?
He does. Take Suze Orman, for example. He provocatively calls her the wretched Slowlane poster child.
Nouch.
Yeah. For years, she consistently preached mutual funds, 401ks, dollar cost averaging, the standard stuff.
Right, I've heard her.
Yet in a revealing 2007 article, she apparently admitted that the vast majority of her estimated $25 million wealth back then was mainly in bonds, specifically municipals, only about 4% in the stock market.
Oh, really? Mostly bonds.
That's what he cites. And she apparently said she uses the markets for income and wealth preservation, not to create it.
Okay, so that raises a huge question for you, the listener. How did she get that initial wealth that she was then preserving in bonds?
Exactly. Was it by diligently following her own Slowlane advice? Or was it by selling millions of books, doing countless TV shows, building a media empire around selling that advice?
It suggests her wealth equation might be fundamentally different from what she teaches the public.
That's the implication DeMarco draws. And he asks a similar question about Robert Kiyosaki, famous for promoting real estate.
Rich dad, poor dad.
Yeah. Kiyosaki famously talks about his Lamborghini, presenting it as proof his teachings work. But DeMarco very directly asks, which came first, the best-selling book or the Lamborghini?
Ah, good question.
He argues Kiyosaki undoubtedly amassed a great deal of wealth selling books, games, and seminars. So again, the suggestion is maybe his core wealth equation, the one that really made him rich, is also different from the real estate methods he mainly talks about.
So what's the takeaway here for you, the listener? Is it that these gurus are totally wrong?
Not necessarily that they're wrong or don't offer value. DeMarco is pushing for deeper critical thinking when you consume financial advice.
Okay.
His advice is, take advice from people with a proven, successful track record of their espoused discipline. If someone is selling you path A, but their own significant wealth came primarily from selling path A, not walking path A,
It doesn't mean ignore them, but
it's worth a serious second look, a healthy dose of skepticism. Maybe the insights from their business model are actually more valuable than the explicit advice in their books.
that's a really sharp insight. Okay, so we've dismantled the get-rich-slow path. Now, DeMarco turns to an even more dangerous route, one that sadly way too many people are on without even realizing it.
Yeah, this is the Sidewalk roadmap, the path that leads straight to poorness, or at best just constant financial stress. And it's probably the most common road of all.
So what defines a sidewalker?
DeMarco says it's someone living with no plan at all for their finances or future. Any extra money they get, it's immediately, almost impulsively spent on the next gadget, the next night out, instant gratification.
Living for today, basically.
Totally. Their core mind posts, the beliefs guiding them, reveal this. Things like, if you got it, flaunt it. Why save for a rainy day? And the really startling summary, I spend every dime I earn. Money. Income plus debt.
Wow. Money equals income plus debt. That's bleak.
It is. They live purely for today, completely unbothered about tomorrow, and often there's this pervasive victim mentality. Everything bad happens to me, it's always someone else's fault. It's a dangerous spiral.
It sounds almost like a caricature, but the stats show it's frighteningly real, don't they?
Disturbingly real. That U.S. Census Bureau data from 2000, before the big crashes of 2001 and 2008, showed 57% of Americans under 55 had zero or even negative net worth.
Over half.
And 62% of households had less than $100,000 in net worth. These aren't just numbers. They paint a picture of a huge population just teetering on the edge with no real financial cushion.
And what are the common symptoms? Things we might see every day.
They're alarmingly common, often disguised as normal, like living paycheck to paycheck and thinking, well, doesn't everyone?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Or not bothering to get correct change because it's not worth the hassle. Consistently having negative net worth, zero savings, rationalizing it with, what's the point? Lacking basic insurance.
And the consequence?
Stark and unforgiving, according to DeMarco. Your future becomes a mortgage for a pleasant present. And he says, bluntly, living on the sidewalk can literally end in living on the sidewalk.
He uses that wild example of the rapper, right?
Yeah.
Making huge money, but still broke.
Yeah, it's almost unbelievable. A famous rapper making $400,000 a month, but denied a measly $60,000 loan.
Why?
Terrible credit score and a complete lack of money management skills. It perfectly shows that high income alone means nothing if you're stuck on the sidewalk.
The money just flows in and flows right back out.
Exactly, leaving nothing behind. And this ties directly into what DeMarco calls the luck fallacy.
Ah, the idea that rich people just got lucky.
That's the core belief of the sidewalker. Wealth is random, something that happens to you, not something you create.
But DeMarco argues against that.
Forcefully. He says luck is a product of process, action, work, and being out there. He emphasizes luck is introduced when you play. You have to actually engage in the game, in entrepreneurship, in value creation, to even be eligible for luck.
So you have to be in the arena.
Yes. And most powerfully, if you want luck, engage in process, because process raises events from the ashes. You build the fertile ground where opportunities can sprout.
That's a huge takeaway for anyone feeling stuck. Stop waiting for lightning and start building a lightning rod.
Absolutely. And this belief in luck and some magical event perfectly explains why those get-rich-quick infomercials are so appealing to sidewalkers.
The ones promising millions for 40 minutes work a week.
Yeah, for just 3 easy payments of $39.95. DeMarco says they cynically exploit that faith in events over process. They prey on the desire or the jackpot without any of the necessary work, effort, or strategy.
Okay, so if you're listening and maybe recognizing some of these traits, what's the first step off the sidewalk?
The absolute first, most crucial step is recognizing you might actually be on it, that self-awareness is the catalyst.
No shame, just awareness.
Exactly. Once you make that honest acknowledgement, you can then actively replace it with something that works. It's about empowerment, saying, okay, I see where I am. Now, how do I pivot to a path that actually leads somewhere better?
And a huge part of the sidewalk mindset is that victimitis he talks about.
Oh, yes. That they mentality.
They laid me off. They cheated me. They raised my rent.
They changed the rules. DeMarco argues quite provocatively that invariably all these theys are self-imposed.
He shares his own story,
I
right?
see it.
As a limo driver.
Yeah, a humbling story. Broke, 25, stranded in a Chicago blizzard in his limo. And he admits, it was my fault. That personal accountability is the complete opposite of victimitis.
He uses that controversial Walmart example too, Eugene.
Right. The employee complaining publicly about his low wages, $11.15 an hour, couldn't afford a car or insurance. DeMarco's response is incredibly blunt, challenging the usual victim narrative.
What did he say?
Something like, no one forced him to work at Walmart. He works there because he chose to. Hey, Eugene, if you're tired of making $11 an hour, raise your value to society. Get your ass over to the library.
Wow. That's harsh. But it's a call for radical self-responsibility, isn't it?
It is, urging people to actively improve their value in the marketplace rather than just passively accepting their situation.
And this leads to his distinction between responsibility and accountability. They're different.
Subtly, yes. Responsibility is owning your choices, recognizing your situation results from your decisions. Accountability goes deeper. It's being culpable for the consequences and, most importantly, actively modifying your behavior to prevent those negative outcomes from happening again.
So you could be responsible without being truly accountable, like admitting fault but not changing anything?
Exactly. Like the parent who sends the child support check, responsibility, but doesn't actively engage in parenting, lacks accountability for the deeper consequences.
Okay.
DeMarco emphasizes that real growth comes from embracing failure not as defeat, but as a lesson. Failure doesn't become the badge of victimhood. it becomes wisdom.
So if you deny accountability and responsibility,
You're basically handing the keys to your life, your destiny, to someone or something else. His powerful message, directly to you, the listener, is take the damn driver's seat to your life.
your choices got you here. Only your choices can take you where you want to go.
It's a call to active agency, full stop.
All right, so we've torn down the illusions of the slow lane, exposed the traps of the sidewalk. Let's finally shift gears and dive into the exciting part, wealth and the fast lane roadmap revealed.
Yes, this is what DeMarco calls the third door, a fundamentally different, direct, powerful path to rapid wealth creation.
How does he introduce it?
Not just as an alternative, but as a hybrid financial roadmap that can create wealth fast and /40 years from wealth accumulation.
/40 years. That's bold.
Very bold.
Right.
And he uses this simple but effective fast lane raffle analogy to illustrate the difference.
Okay, let's hear it.
Imagine two raffles. Raffle A offers a chance to win $10 million in just 6 years with 14% odds. Raffle B offers $500,000, but it takes 40 years with slightly better 16% odds.
$10 million in 6 years versus $500K in 40.
Which do you choose? The fast lane raffle, A, with the massive payout and incredibly faster timeline, clearly wins, right? Even with slightly lower odds, what he calls incremental risk.
Yeah, the potential reward is exponentially higher and comes much, much sooner.
Exactly. The point is, taking calculated risks on a path with that kind of exponential upside dramatically outperforms slow, safe, linear growth over the long haul.
And this analogy highlights the fast lane's core components.
Yes, 4 of them. First, a producer mindset. You shift from being just a consumer to becoming an entrepreneur, a creator, a value provider.
Right, producer, not consumer.
Second, controllable unlimited leverage, CUL. The complete opposite of that ULL prison. This removes the time cage, letting your efforts scale, potentially infinitely.
CUL, got it.
Third, it's a lifestyle choice. Requires unwavering commitment, not just casual interest.
All in.
And finally, right, that simple answer was the revelation. DeMarco realized you could build huge wealth without fame or rare physical talent. That sparked what he calls the search for the Millionaire Fastlane.
But it wasn't instant success for him, was it?
Far from it. And that's a critical lesson. He battled intense resistance into mediocrity from society, even himself. He calls college prenatal employee brainwashing,
Ouch again.
designed to funnel him into the slow lane. He faced huge roadblocks, detours, and depression. Lived back with his mother after college, had a string of failed ventures, took what he calls Neanderthal jobs, busboy, pizza delivery, Sears stock clerk, just to survive.
Wow. So he really struggled.
Immensely. And all along, his mother's constant, well-meaning but ultimately haunting plea, get a job, baby, fueled his desperate desire to escape that grind.
When was the real turning point?
His blizzard of awakening. That freezing night as a limo driver in Chicago, stranded in the snow, surrounded by the reality of his life, he had this stark, painful thought. What the hell am I doing? Is this what my life has become?
That moment of hitting bottom, almost.
Yeah, that intense dissatisfaction pushed him to commit to finding a different way, building a life on his own terms.
So how did he actually merge onto the fast lane?
It began when he moved to Phoenix with just $900. Still driving a limo for money, but then a client casually asked about finding a limo company in New York.
And that sparked something.
A genuine epiphany. He realized there was this gaping, unsolved need. No easy, central way to find limo services in other cities back then. So, driven by that clear problem, he started building a website to solve it.
Smart. Using a real problem.
But even then, initially, he fell into a common trap. His income was still tied to his time designing custom websites for clients, still basically trading hours for dollars.
The time trap again.
His real breakthrough came when he shifted the model from custom design to selling website advertising to the limo company.
Passive potential there.
Exactly. That subtle but profound shift allowed for passive income. The first month's revenue was tiny, just $473, but then it grew exponentially. $694, $970, $9,832.
Wow, it took off.
And he realized, with real joy, it didn't feel like work. In fact, I enjoyed it. He was building a system, not just doing a job.
But then he hit a bump, right? The fake shortcut.
Yeah. This rapid success led to what he calls a faked shortcut to wealth. In 2000, during the dot-com boom, he sold that first company for a lot of money.
Sounds good.
But then he mismanaged it, blew through a lot of it, quickly realizing that even with a pile of cash, he wasn't rich at all. He had money, but not the financial education, the systems, the mindset to sustain true wealth.
That's a crucial lesson. A lump sum isn't freedom if you don't know what to do with it.
Precisely. And that tough lesson led him back to entrepreneurship, to what he calls the birth of the money tree. He rebuilt and vastly improved his website, streamlined everything.
And the result?
He was soon working maybe an hour a day instead of 10. And the money kept rolling in regardless of what he was doing. He talks about going to Vegas for days, being sick for a week, taking a month off, and the income just kept flowing.
It's passive income.
That, he says, truly exemplifies it. Money working for you, not you working for money, allowing you to live life completely on your own terms.
So after that whole journey, what does he consider true wealth?
He introduces the wealth trinity. He's emphatic. Wealth is not authored by material possessions, money, or stuff, but by what I call the 3 fundamental F's. Family, meaning relationships, fitness, meaning health, and freedom, meaning choice.
Family, fitness, freedom, not just money.
Right. It's a radical redefinition, shifting focus away from just accumulation.
How does he expand on that?
He says wealth is making a difference. Wealth is community and impacting the lives of others. Wealth cannot be experienced alone in a vacuum.
So it's about purpose, connection, contribution, not just stacking cash.
Exactly. A powerful reminder that while money can facilitate those things, it's not the ultimate goal itself.
And how does this apply directly to you, the listener, and daily choices?
He emphasizes how unaffordable material possessions are destructive to the wealth trinity. He talks about 30K millionaires.
30K millionaires.
Yeah, people may be earning a decent income, say $30,000 a year, adjust for inflation maybe, but buying the illusion of wealth through heavy debt, expensive car payments, huge mortgage, all on credit.
Appearing rich, but actually trapped.
Exactly. Financial magicians of the sidewalk. They have the stuff, but zero freedom, often compromised health from the stress-strained relationships.
So true wealth isn't the expensive car you can barely afford.
No, it's the freedom to know that you can buy it. The option to acquire something without financial strain, knowing your systems are so strong, the purchase is effortless.
He gives that example about his brother's Lexus.
Yeah, a beautiful example. Buying a Lexus for his brother with a cashier's check took 20 minutes, no financing needed. That financial freedom, that lack of constraint is the real indicator. The Fastlane, he says, primarily addresses freedom, which then protects your health and relationships. Your personal definition of freedom is the ultimate key.
Okay, let's talk about what DeMarco calls the holy grail to retirement. Passive income.
Yes. He defines it with compelling simplicity. Earning income while not working.
Simple enough.
And even more powerfully, he gives you a clear metric. If your monthly income exceeds your lifestyle expenses, including taxes, guess what? You're retired.
Whoa. So retirement isn't an age, it's a financial state.
Precisely. Complete liberation from needing to trade your time for money.
He uses that Vegas gambling story, right?
Yeah, it perfectly illustrates the power. He lost $2,000 gambling one day, happens to people. But crucially, his money tree, his automated internet company, earned $6,000 that same day.
So he was still up $4,000 even after losing in the tables.
Exactly. A money tree is a business system, he explains, designed to generate income independently of your daily effort. It lets you experience the destination of retirement and financial freedom without actually being retired because your money is working 24/7 whether you are or not.
Like being permanently on vacation,
Okay.
financially speaking.
Kind of, yeah, without ever having to pack a bag.
So how do you build these money trees? He talks about seedlings, right?
Yes, the 5 money tree seedlings. These are the foundational business systems capable of generating real passivity. First up, rental systems.
Like real estate.
Primarily real estate, yeah. He gives this a top passivity grade, A. The beauty is, time is detached from its income. A rental home can generate income even if you're on the other side of the world. It's a tangible asset you can improve, appreciate, and its income stream is largely independent of your daily labor if you systematize the management.
Okay, rental systems. What's next?
Computer software systems also gets an A grade for passivity. These are incredibly powerful because they're highly scalable and replicable. Once created, the marginal cost is near zero.
Digital leverage.
Exactly. He shares that story of Nicholas, an average guy who taught himself coding online, developed an iPhone game that made $600,000 in 1 month.
Wow, from self-taught coding.
Yeah, perfect example of how someone can tap into this, create a digital product sold to millions without constant individual effort per sale. The code does the work endlessly.
Amazing. Okay, number 3.
Content systems. Gets a solid B+ grade. Think information. Books, blogs, ebooks, online courses, maybe magazines.
Like his own book.
Exactly. The The power here is longevity. Content survives time. Years after writing it, he still earns from each sale. The upfront effort is significant, but the long-term passive payoff can be huge as the content lives on.
Makes sense. Content systems. Number 4.
Distribution systems earns a B grade. These are structures designed to move products to the masses. Channels like QVC, infomercials, wholesale, franchises.
Getting the product out there.
Right. He uses the example of owning 500 hot dog carts. One cart is a job. Owning 500 via a systemized distribution network, that creates massive leverage. Invention is half the battle. Efficient distribution is the other crucial piece for passive income.
Okay. And the 5th seedling.
Human resource systems gets a C grade. While often necessary, they're the most expensive, complicated, and least passive because employees are inherently unpredictable.
People are complex.
Definitely. He contrasts this with a self-storage owner using automated kiosks and online systems, a computer system achieving 85% passivity, minimizing reliance on staff. The lesson isn't never hire, but design systems to minimize their necessity for day-to-day income, making them support roles, not core revenue drivers.
Interesting. So those are the 5 seedlings. What about money itself as a system?
Good point. He discusses money as a passive system, primarily through lending or investing. Once you've generated substantial wealth via your Fastlane business, you effectively switch teams.
From consumer to producer.
Exactly. Borrower to lender. Employee to employer, customer to owner investor. Now, people pay you to use your money through interest or ownership stakes.
He talks about a dollar's DNA, right?
Yeah, that it's fully passive. It never sleeps, never complains, always working. He says this is how he effectively retired in his 30s. He illustrates the power. If you had $10 million and lent it at a mere 5% interest, you'd enjoy a passive income of $41,666 every single month.
Wow. From interest alone.
Without touching the principal. His overall strategy was this dual-flanked attack. His internet businesses, the Fastlane money tree, generated the big capital sums. Then he deployed that capital into passive income streams from lending and other money systems, an unstoppable financial engine.
Okay, so this leads to how Fastlaners actually use compound interest differently than Slowlaners are taught.
Crucial distinction. Slowlaners are told to use compound interest as the main engine to get wealthy over decades, hoping small savings magically snowball over 50 years.
Right, the magic of compounding.
Fastlaners use it differently. They use it to create income and liquidity from an already large sum they built through their Fastlane business.
So it's a tool for the already wealthy, not the primary path to wealth.
That's exactly his point. He says, compound interest pays my bills. It's my tool. It's my passive income source. Yet, compound interest is not responsible for my wealth.
The heavy lifting was done by the business.
The heavy lifting of wealth creation is left to their Fastlane business. The rich, he says, aren't using the markets to create wealth. They're increasing their existing wealth with leveraged business assets. The real millionaires, he observes, are the guys running the funds. They're the producers.
They're on the creation side, not just the investing side.
Precisely. He reiterates, a modest 5% tax-free yield on $10 million suddenly creates a $500,000 per year passive income. Compound interest rears excruciating force when pitted against large sums of money. It's a powerful multiplier once you have the capital base. A tool for income, not the engine for creation from scratch.
Okay, this is huge. It reframes everything about investing. Now, let's get to the core philosophy. The law of affection.
Yes, the Fastlane primer. The single most important principle, he argues.
What is it?
The more lives you affect in an entity you control, in scale and or magnitude, the richer you will become.
Affect more lives, get richer.
Or the shorter version. Affect millions and make millions. It's a total paradigm shift from self-focused gain to a service-oriented approach. How can I help millions?
He breaks it down into scale and magnitude.
Right. Scale is the sheer number of units sold or people reached. Think volume. Magnitude is the unit profit or the depth of impact per person. Think value per transaction.
So you can hit millions either by selling something cheap to tons of people.
That's scale.
Or by selling something high value, solving a big problem to fewer people, but still a significant number.
That's magnitude. Both paths, executed well, lead to wealth because they embody the law of affection. Service at scale or magnitude.
It gives examples, right?
Fantastic examples. Bill Clinton earning $50 plus from speaking fees. Why? He affects millions. Global reach, undeniable magnitude.
Okay, that's scale and magnitude combined.
Then there's hypothetical Joe Magnitude, a commercial real estate developer, makes $5.06 selling just 14 complexes, each netting $400K profit. High magnitude, lower scale.
Got it.
Compare that to Joe Scale, an author selling 8 million copies of a diet book at $7 profit each. Also $5.06. High scale, lower magnitude.
Both fulfilling the law of affection, just differently.
Exactly. The huge takeaway for you, the listener, is clear. The closer you get to the source of large numbers, the closer you will get to wealth. To serve millions is to make millions. Think big, to earn big.
It forces you to shift from, how can I get rich?
To, how can I serve a massive number of people or serve a significant number with immense value? That reframing is where Fastlane thinking truly begins.
We've spent a lot of time on the roadmaps, Sidewalk, Slowlane, Fastlane. Now let's turn inward and talk about the vehicle. You.
Yes, taking the driver's seat of your own life, absolutely critical for navigating the fast lane. Even the best car needs a capable, focused driver.
DeMarco really emphasizes choices, doesn't he?
Powerfully. Your life is the sum result of all the choices you make, consciously and unconsciously. Success isn't one big decision, but hundreds of small, consistent choices that cumulatively fabricate lifestyle.
And he challenges you directly. You are exactly where you decide to be.
Which isn't about blame, right? It's about empowerment. If you're unhappy where you are, the leverage point for change is consciously making better choices, starting now.
He talks about treasonous choices. What are those?
Actions that do irreparable harm to your life, your dreams, and your goals. Things with catastrophic, often irreversible consequences.
Like his own street racing accident.
Yeah, he shares that raw story, nearly died, calls it treasonous. He also tells the tragic story of Andre, a 28-year-old Fastlane millionaire who drove drunk.
Oh, no.
Killed a family, lost his businesses, 11 years in prison. And he mentions NFL player Steve McNair's choices leading to his death. Grave, sobering examples of how impulsive choices can derail everything. Your life, others' lives.
It highlights the butterfly effect too, right? Small choices having big impacts.
Exactly. Minor decisions can lead to profound effects over time, rippling across decades. A choice today can alter your life for decades. It's why conscious decision-making is so vital for fastlaners. Every choice matters.
And what about perception versus action?
Key idea. Choices of perception serve as the impetus to choices of action. His example, seeing that Lamborghini as a kid and thinking, someday I'm going to own one, that perception, that belief, fueled his actions.
Versus the teen at the gas station.
Right, who saw his Lamborghini later and just resigned himself, I'll never afford one. Different perceptions, totally different actions, different life paths. DeMarco also challenges limiting perceptions like $10,000 a month is a lot of money.
He says money is infinite.
Basically, yeah. That fastlaners can legitimately earn 6, even 7 figures monthly. It's about seeing abundance and possibility, not scarcity and limits.
Okay, so how do we make better choices, especially when facing fear? He offers tools.
2 powerful ones. First, worst case consequence analysis, WCCA.
WCCA, how does it work?
Simple but profound. Ask yourself, what is the absolute worst case outcome of this choice? He gives a personal example of resisting a drunken hookup by playing out the worst consequences. STDs, pregnancy, false accusation, ruined reputation.
Okay, so you define the absolute floor.
Exactly. Then your brain can assess if it's truly survivable. If the worst case of starting a business is, say, lose startup capital, move back with parents for 6 months, get a job for a year to rebuild savings.
That's tough, but not fatal, not living under a bridge.
Right. You ask, can I survive that? Am I willing to risk that for the potential upside? Suddenly, the vague fear shrinks. The intelligent risk becomes clear and manageable. It combats fear paralysis.
Okay, that's WCCA. What's the second tool?
For more complex decisions, the weighted average decision matrix, WADM.
WADM. It sounds complicated.
A bit, but powerful. He used it when choosing between moving to Detroit or Phoenix. You list all relevant factors, weather, cost of living, family, market opportunity, assign a weight to each based on your priorities, then score each choice against those factors.
So it brings structure to complex choices.
Exactly. Replaces gut feelings with a rational framework aligned with your values. He says he used it to avoid a $125,000 bad investment in a Vegas restaurant. It clarifies ambiguity.
Very useful tools. Now, wiping your windshield clean. What's that about? Headwinds.
Yeah, or deodorizing flatulent headwinds, his analogy. The airplane was amazing because it defied gravity. The fast lane defies society's gravitational pull toward mediocrity in the slow lane. These headwinds are the negative forces holding you back.
Like societal beliefs.
Yeah, that pervasive stuff. Flying is impossible. You're crazy to try that business. He uses the example of kindergartners. They all think they can sing. Seniors. Most have been conditioned by criticism, by failure, to believe they can't. Society subtly conditions us to accept limits, dim our light, abandon big dreams.
That's insidious. What about personal headwinds?
The direct discouragement from people close to you, family disapproval, wasting your education, peers, negative friends, he calls them dream stealers.
Dream sealers, like Mark, the late friend, or Lucy, the cynic.
Yeah. DeMarco warns, commiserating with habitual, negative, limited thinkers is treasonous to your journey. They don't just disagree, they actively infect your mindset with their own limits and fears.
Your work environment can be a headwind, too.
Huge one. A hated job drains the very life out of you. Saps energy, creativity, drive, leaves you too exhausted to pursue fast lane goals. He mentioned Sylvester Stallone refusing normal jobs even when broke.
Because it would trap him mentally.
Exactly. Stallone knew it was a crushing headwind to his real dreams. He chose freedom from that drain, even through struggle.
And the toughest headwind might be your partner.
Possibly the worst headwind, yeah. The person in the passenger seat. If they don't genuinely support your entrepreneurial vision, your fast lane path, it's like towing a trailer full of wet manure.
Wow. Vivid again.
They actively drain energy, enthusiasm, progress. He shares his own breakup with a slow lane-minded girlfriend. He states bluntly, bad relationships are roadblocks to fast lane success. They drain energy and dim dreams. You have to honestly evaluate your passenger. Are they helping you drive or applying the brake?
So what's the solution? Create tailwinds.
Exactly. Creating accelerative wins. Actively turn away from those headwinds. Crucially, strategically associate with positive, supportive, success-minded people.
Your warriors.
Yes, his term. People who nurture growth, offer perspective during failure, invest enthusiastically in your dreams. They uplift, challenge positively, pull you forward. Choose your inner circle very wisely.
It's links to time, right? The ultimate resource.
Definitely. Time, the ultimate equalizer and scarcest resource. His contrast is stark. Time is deathly scarce, while money is richly abundant. Trillions of dollars flow daily, infinite money. Your lifespan, irrevocably finite.
You can always get more money, but never more time.
Never. It's non-renewable, which means the right time is free time. Indentured time is the wrong time. That slow lane 5-for-2 trade, a demonstrably bad deal for DeMarco. Fast laners aggressively manipulate that ratio to get way more right time. Build systems that liberate time, not consume it.
And to speed up, you need to dump the junk in the trunk. Parasitic debt.
Absolutely. Parasitic debt is everything you owe the world. It is the excrement of lifestyle servitude. Car payments, huge mortgages, fancy clothes on credit, all the stuff bought to impress, but that actually drains you.
A bloodsucker, he calls it.
Stealing free time, energy, freedom, health. He uses the law of chocolate chip cookies.
Which is?
If the cookies don't get into the grocery cart, they don't get home. Control debt by controlling its source. Instant gratification, impulsive spending. His golden rule, revolutionary for many. If you can't pay cash, you can't afford it.
Simple, but powerful. Stops debt growth cold.
And frees up financial energy for wealth creation.
Okay, what about maintenance, changing your oil? Education.
Crucial, continuous, lifelong education. Education didn't end with graduation, it started. He, despite 2 business degrees, self-taught all the internet skills for his businesses.
Because the knowledge is out there.
Infinite knowledge is everywhere and it's free. Libraries, bookstores, online, you can become an expert at almost anything, not requiring physical talent.
And he has those clever life university strategies.
Yeah, turning wasted moments into learning gold mines.
Audiobooks, podcasts instead of music.
Books, podcasts at the gym.
Reading at airports, doctor's offices.
His most memorable. Never thrown without reading something of educational value.
Learning during work downtime, like he did as a limo driver. Getting paid to learn.
That toilet university one always sticks.
Right. The return on investment for these short, frequent bursts is infinite, he argues.
He's critical of expensive seminars, though.
Very. Calls them $50,000 for someone to explain a book that's found at the bookstore for $19. Says they exploit laziness, the desire for events, not process. True learning comes from consistent engagement and application, not a pricey one-off event.
Which brings us to commitment versus interest.
Profound distinction. Interest reads a book. Commitment applies the book 50 times.
Okay.
Interest wants to start a business. Commitment files LLC paperwork, builds the website, makes the sales calls.
Actions, not just thoughts.
Interest leases an expensive car to look successful. Commitment rides a bike and puts the money into your system.
Wow. Sacrificing image for progress.
Most people just aren't willing, he argues. The idea of the 50-year rat race has to be more painful than the idea of working your ass off to escape it in the fast lane. Until that pain flips, true commitment is rare. And redlined effort cannot be bypassed nor outsourced. No shortcuts for your own intense work.
Finally, for the driver, intelligent versus moronic risks.
You have to take risks. Get uncomfortable. Get out there and fail. Growth is outside the comfort zone.
But not just any risk.
No. Avoid moronic risks. Bottomless downside, limited upside, like gambling your salary, driving with bad brakes, is street racing, not backing up data, foolish gambling.
Well, so what are intelligent risks?
Limited, defined downside, but unlimited, exponential upside. Quitting your job for a fast lane business, intelligent in his view. Worst case, mop floors, flip burgers, eat rice and beans temporarily. Challenging but survivable compared to the potential freedom.
And failure.
Failure is imminent, guaranteed. But critically, failure creates experience, and experience breeds wisdom. Each setback is tuition. And don't wait for perfect timing. Timing is rarely perfect. Waiting empowers mediocrity. What arrives if you wait? Time, old age, and the specter of a dream lost. You are the vehicle. Drive it.
Okay, we've tuned up the vehicle you and your mindset. Now let's talk about the road, your business, where you apply all this.
Right. And DeMarco is clear. Not all businesses are fast lane roads. The road to wealth must route to wealth. It has to connect directly to that law of affection, serving millions or serving with massive magnitude.
It starts with the 5 fast lane commandments. First one.
The commandment of need.
Yeah.
Core insight. Stop chasing money and start chasing needs.
Solve problems, don't just seek profit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Money isn't attracted to selfish people. It is attracted to businesses that solve problems. If you start a business just because you want to get rich or because you love a hobby, DeMarco bets on failure. Thriving businesses address genuine, widespread market needs.
He uses that martial arts studio example.
Yeah, Joe the Expert opened a studio purely out of love, closed in 10 months. No real unmet need in that market. It was passion, not a market solution. The lesson: help 1 million people and you will be a millionaire. Reverse your thinking. What problem can I solve for many?
He challenges do what you love, too.
He does. Says it must solve a deep need and you must be exceptional. Otherwise, crowded markets, low margins. Plus, doing what you love for money can endanger your love if it becomes a financial burden.
So what should motivate you?
Passion for an end goal. A powerful why. DeMarco's drive came from wanting a Lamborghini and wanting to ease his mother's financial burden. That deeper why fuels the journey. Passion erases the suffering of work, he says. Find your whys.
Okay, commandment of need, second.
The commandment of entry, key idea. As entry barriers to any business road fall or lessen, the effectiveness of that road declines while competition strengthens. Low barrier entry businesses, ones anyone can start easily, are weak roads. They get saturated, super competitive, profits erode. Think of a gold rush. If everyone can dig, individual finds become tiny.
Like the make millions on eBay hype.
Exactly. Faded fast because everyone could do it. The real winners, early movers, and eBay itself, the platform. Same with blogging, early e-commerce. He specifically critiques network marketing, MLM, on this.
Why MLM?
Says it always fails the commandment of entry unless you own and create the MLM company yourself. As a participant, you're just a soldier in his fast lane army, a pyramid climber, not the pyramid builder.
So in a gold rush, don't dig for gold, sell shovels.
Precisely. Be the platform, the enabler, the system builder, not just another participant digging in the dirt.
What are the warning signs of low entry barriers?
Irrational exuberance. The general public suddenly piling in. If everyone's doing it, the barriers are too low, profits are about to shrink. His insight: if you want to live unlike everyone, you can't be like everyone. Seek higher barriers, even if they require more effort initially.
Makes sense. Commandment 3.
The commandment of control. See, the warning. If someone can flip a switch and destroy your business, you're playing roulette with your financial plan.
Don't build on someone else's land, basically.
That's a good way to put it. Don't rely too heavily on external platforms, algorithms, third-party gatekeepers you don't control. He learned this painfully when an ad network suddenly pulled his income for 8 days. He had no control. He who owns the keys owns the power.
So building entirely on Facebook or relying solely on Google rankings is risky.
Inherently vulnerable. That's why he critiques franchises too. Great models, but you're often held hostage to a corporate patriarch, not truly your own boss. Limited innovation, adaptation. His friend's MLM income vanished when the company changed its plan. No control, no recourse.
And mantra.
Think shark, not guppy. Build corporate ladders, don't just join them. Hitchhikers are party to someone else's Fastlane plan. Touch your own.
Got it. Commandment 4.
The commandment of scale, S. Wealth acceleration is incarcerated within constricting speed limits if your business violates scale.
Scale means leverage, right? Reaching many.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your business must be capable of selling units in the millions, or at least thousands per day month, or achieving substantial unit profit magnitude. A business selling only a few dozen units a day, hard to get rich quick that way.
Like the local sandwich shop example?
Can't easily sell to Australia. Without broad scale, millions of customers, or high magnitude, huge profit per customer, the law of affection is blocked. DeMarco is blunt. If you can't serve millions, you won't make millions. And affection always trickles up to owners and producers, not down to employees or consumers. Doctors might have magnitude, but lack control scale, limiting Fastlane potential.
Okay, scale is crucial. 5th and final commandment.
The commandment of time. This is the ultimate goal. Disconnection of your time from income. Building pure passivity in a living money tree. Income flows even when you're not working. That's what truly separates a Fastlane business from just a high-paying job you created for yourself.
He uses that coffee shop owner, Ashlyn, as a cautionary tale.
Yeah, powerful story, passionate, hardworking, but didn't own her business. It owned her. Worked 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily, sacrificed everything, couldn't afford a manager, burned out, closed shop.
She failed the commandment of time, not necessarily business itself.
Exactly. Many small businesses fall into this trap, suffer from prostitution of time, trading time for money, or magnitude of time. Too much time for too little reward scale. The goal is a system that works independently of your hours.
What are the best models for this, especially online?
He lists the purest ones.
Golden, monthly fees for access, software, data, content. His example, 20K clients, X 50-month EOS, $1 gross month, 75% margins. Passive flow.
Like his limo site. Connect buyer sellers for a fee. System generates leads passively.
Aggregate communities, Facebook, LinkedIn. Value scales with users, passive value for owners.
Selling good service info online. Local store goes global, sells 227.
Creation plus scalable distribution, he clarifies. Writing a book is not a business, selling the book is. Passive income comes from the distribution system.
Okay, those are the commandments for the road. How do you speed things up? Execution, feedback, branding.
Exactly. 3 critical accelerators. First, the king, execution. DeMarco says ideas are worthless, execution is priceless. It's the great divider separating winners and losers from their ideas. You can have a brilliant idea, but without action building, iterating, delivering, it's just fantasy. Execution makes it real.
No substitute for doing the work. Second accelerator.
The tribe has spoken. Feedback. You must put your executed ideas and concepts out into the world and let it tell you how you're doing.
Listen to the market.
Absolutely. He shares his humbling website redesign story. Spent weeks, launched it, the world hated it. Complaints, high bounce rates. He didn't argue. He immediately reverted. Crashed 6 weeks of work based on feedback. Be humble enough to listen even when it hurts.
And embrace complaints. Pedestrians will make you rich.
Yes. Complaints aren't annoyances, they're valuable insights. He categorizes them. Complaints of change, like his redesign. Hard to judge, need data to separate real issues from resistance to change. Complaints of expectation, customer expectation violated. Your service sucks. Might mean bad marketing, operational failure, or user error. Exposes problems to fix. Complaints of void, these are goldy, unmet needs, new revenue opportunities. His canker sore problem led him to a solution, then a potential product. Direct pipeline to innovation.
Okay, king execution, tribe feedback, third accelerator.
The queen, marketing and branding, the most powerful tool in your Fastlane toolbox, he distinguishes. Businesses survive, brands thrive.
Like Apple.
Brilliant example. Didn't just sell computers, exploited PC weaknesses, viruses, complexity, to brand themselves as innovative, creative, easy. Brand is a promise, an identity.
And the keys are unique selling propositions, USPs.
Yes. Specific, compelling reasons to choose you, his business. No risk advertising. If we send you nothing, you pay nothing. Domino's. Delivered in 30 minutes or less, or it's free. USPs must be specific, benefit-driven, concise, and you must deliver on them, your core promise.
How do you rise above the noise? He has strategies.
5 powerful ones. 1, polarize. Take an extreme stance, like politicians. Attracts fans, repels detractors, creates distinct identity. 2. Arouse emotions. Most buying is emotional. ASPCA ads. Move your audience's emotions and make them care. Caring leads to action. 3. Be risque. Sex controversy grabs attention. GoDaddy ads. Use carefully can backfire. 4. Encourage interaction. People love narcissism. Surveys. Are you Fastlane or Slowlane? Creates relationship, investment. 5. Be unconventional. Break mock convention. Energizer Bunny. Geico ads. Stand out by defying expectations.
And always focus on what's in it for me, WIIFM.
Always. Benefits, not features. People care how your product solves their problem. You don't buy a drill, you buy a hole. Sell the outcome, the transformation.
What about price? Can that be used for branding?
Absolutely. Price is a branding weapon. Price conveys value, quality, exclusivity. His childhood football clock example refused to lower price, differentiating it. Price positions your brand. Don't default to cheapest.
Okay. Lastly, protect your business. Throw hijackers to the curb. Managing your castle.
Yes. Diligently protecting it from threats, internal and external. Critically, employees. An untrained $80 front desk person with a bad attitude can ruin a multi-million-dollar investment. Customer experience is everything.
Partners, too.
A business partnership is as important as a marriage. Choose very wisely. And accountants, attorneys, they have the keys to your castle. He had a bad early accountant experience. Stresses. Investigate and interview thoroughly. Get referrals from successful entrepreneurs.
Plus, but verify.
His mantra, hard won. Cites Bernard Madoff, billions lost to unverified trust. DeMarco says, today I trust no one but give everyone the opportunity to prove trust. Not cynicism, but diligence. Scrutinize, have oversight.
And customer service. Fanatical.
Fanatical customer service, SUCS. Positively violate low expectations. His web host, Liquid Web, 10-minute support response, 20-minute fix, turns customers into human resource systems, loyal disciples, providing free advertising. Nothing overcomes poor human experiences. Service trumps superficiality, like his Venetian versus Rio hotel example.
Final strategic choice. Monogamy over polygamy.
Yes. Focus intensely on one Fastlane business, especially early on. If you're dabbling in 10 different things, your results will be dabbling and unimpressive. Success requires singular focus until critical mass. Only after hitting the mother lode with one business do successful entrepreneurs divert into other ventures. Monogamy leads to polygamy. One success funds many more.
Okay, wow, we've covered a ton. After this deep dive into the Millionaire Fastlane, how do you actually supercharge your plan? Put it all together. He has an acronym.
Yeah, the FASTLANE SUPERCHARGAR acronym. Let's hit a few key elements. That first E stands for educate. Relentless self-learning, not formal degrees, never stop, especially Fastlane knowledge. Leverage toilet university commutes, gym time. Constant learning is your edge.
Got it. What about the A in supercharger?
Automate. Systematically detach time from your business. Build those money tree seedlings. Create systems, money, rental, software, content, distribution, HR that generate income passively. True passivity is the goal.
And the R at the end.
Replicate. Design your business to be scalable, capable of affecting millions, honoring the commandment of scale. To make millions, operate on a field large enough to reach millions, or provide immense magnitude. Think systems that duplicate, expand, reach mass markets.
Okay, but DeMarco anticipates objections, right?
Yeah.
What if you're thinking, but MJ, I've got mountains of credit card debt.
His response is blunt. Your choices led to your debt. Not accusatory, but empowering. You can make new choices. Advice. Repent from the sidewalk. Stop new debt now. Commit to cash. Then aggressively focus on income expansion through a need-based business.
It might require tough choices initially.
Yes, you might need to get your hands dirty, doing something that most others would find repulsive at first. Extra work, unpleasant work maybe, to kill debt and free up capital.
What if you stock shelves? Feel you have no time after work?
He challenges you. Identify needs, opportunities from complaints around you. Use the teacher example. Summers off are huge blocks of time to leverage. Roads are opened only when you knock on their doors. You don't find time, you make time, often by sacrificing leisure, applying those life university tactics.
And the really tough one. My wife hates my business ideas.
He calls this a significant headwind, maybe the worst. Asks a hard question. If your partner doesn't subscribe to an entrepreneurial philosophy, can you expect to grow together in unison? You need to honestly evaluate your passenger. A truly unsupportive partner can be an insurmountable roadblock.
This all leads to his Fastlane oath.
Yeah.
The 24 new rules.
Yeah, a complete paradigm shift. Powerful, defiant, not statements. Not trade my freedom for money. Not use compound interest for wealth, but for income. Not impose the burdens of parasitic debt into my life. Not do what everyone does, and maybe most critical, not dismiss the plausibility of my dreams. It's a total re-engineering of your financial and personal philosophy.
So after all this, you, the listener, now have the psychological, the mathematical framework for the fast lane. You see the dangers of the sidewalk, the limits of the slow lane, and hopefully the immense power of the fast lane. The garage door to an exceptional life, he suggests, is wide open.
And as DeMarco says powerfully, it doesn't matter where you start, but how you proceed. The fast lane isn't just a destination, it's a personal transformative journey. That journey, the process, the challenges becomes your life. It's about finding your why and committing relentlessly to the process, the building, the serving, not just waiting passively for good things to happen to you.
So, for you listening right now, what singular conscious choice will you make today to begin or maybe accelerate your fast lane journey? What specific headwind are you ready to bravely face and maybe turn into a tailwind this week?
As Henry Emerson Fosdick said, he who chooses the beginning of the road chooses the place it leads to. It is the means that determines the end. Your journey, your potential fast lane journey, starts now.